Councillor Halleru, just before we go live, can you hear us? Excellent. Okay.
Yes, I can hear you.
Thank you. Okay, we will. Welcome everyone to a very balmy for the type of year, April 13th, 2026 regular council meeting. I think spring is officially here. 6 p.m. We'll call the meeting to order. Are there any disclosures of pecuniary interest? Councillor Bowman, please.
Thank you, Mayor. I'd like to declare interest on item number 6 on the agenda, or 7, sorry, Scotch and Ponder advertising policy. Nature of my declaration is they are a customer of Mill Creek.
Thank you very much. And the clerk has your...
She has my paperwork.
Thank you very much. Any further declarations? Seeing none. Councillor Hughes, please. Adoption of the agenda, please.
Thank you, Mayor. Moved by myself, Councillor Hughes, seconded by Councillor Van Kooten-Bosens, that the agenda for the April 13th, 2026 meeting of the Council of the Corporation of the Town of Ingersoll be adopted as presented.
Thank you. Discussion? All those in favor? Opposed? That is carried. And I apologize. Still, is there any other further another adoption of the agenda? Is there any declaration of pecuniary interest following that? Nope. Thank you. My bad. Councillor Van Kooten-Bosens, the consent agenda, please.
Thank you, Mayor. Sorry. I said Councillor. Moved by myself, seconded by Deputy Mayor Wilson, that the items contained in the April 13th, 2026 consent agenda be adopted as presented.
Discussion? All in favor? Opposed? That is carried. Deputy Mayor Wilson, please.
Moved by myself, seconded by Councillor Bowman, that the minutes from the March 9th, 2026 regular meeting of Council be adopted as presented.
Thank you. Discussion? All in favor? Opposed? That is carried. Councillor Bowman, please. March 24th meeting.
Thank you, Mayor. Moved by myself, seconded by Councillor Hudson, that the minutes from the March 24th, 2026 special meeting of Council be adopted as presented.
All in favor, or discussion? All in favor? Opposed? Carried. We'll get there. Okay, our next item is a public meeting for a zone change. With that, I will declare the public meeting to be open. This meeting is being constituted as a public meeting held under the Planning Act to consider proposed amendments to Consolidated Zoning Bylaw 044160. Any person in attendance, including those participating virtually, may make a presentation to Council in support or opposition to the zone change application. Individuals who wish to receive the decision of Council on any application being considered this evening must sign the record of attendance outside of Council chambers or submit a written request to the attention of the Town Clerk, Danielle Richard at danielle.richard@ingersoll.ca. The Ontario Land Tribunal has the power to dismiss an appeal under subsection 25 if an appellant has not provided Council with oral submissions at a public meeting or a written submission before a bylaw is passed under this section. The application to be heard this evening concerns application ZN 6-2601 564062 Karn Road, Allis-Ann Farm Limited. Does any member of Council have a conflict of interest on the application to be considered? Seeing none. Has the clerk received any additional correspondence? The application is not being noted on the agenda.
I have not.
Thank you. I now request Planner Heather Sinclair to provide an overview of the application and explanation of the requested zoning amendment.
Thank you, Mayor Petrie. Good evening, Council. The application for zone change has been requested to rezone the easterly portion of the subject lands from General Agricultural Zone A2 under the Township of Southwest Oxford zoning bylaw to a Development Zone D in the Town of Ingersoll zoning bylaw. And the purpose of the application is to fulfill a condition of consent, which was approved by the Oxford County Land Division Committee in October of 2025. The subject lands, which are shown in red on plate 1 of the staff report, were conditionally approved for the severance from the agricultural lands to the east that are located in the Township of Southwest Oxford, while the subject lands themselves are located within the town's boundary. The purpose of the zoning amendment is to ensure that there is consistent zoning for the entirety of the lot to be severed, which is shown in red. and to bring them under the jurisdiction of the town's zoning bylaw. And it's anticipated that once severed, future development will occur on the subject lands by way of a future plan of subdivision within the Oxford Village subdivision. Once the severance is finalized, the subject lands will be approximately 3.1 hectares or 7.6 acres in size, with 100 meters of frontage on Walker Road and a depth of approximately 600 meters. The subject lands are currently vacant, and surrounding land uses consist of existing and planned low-density residential uses to the north and west, with agricultural lands in the township of Southwest Oxford to the east. To date, no comments have been received from any of the public with respect to the rezoning, and planning staff will be reviewing the proposal under the policy direction of the PPS and the official plan for lands designated as low density, and we'll be bringing back a report for council's consideration with the comments received from public agencies and a recommendation for council's consideration. Thank you, and I'm available for any questions.
Thank you very much. Does the applicant or the representative have any comments to make concerning the application? Thank you. I will now open the meeting to the public comments from the public. This portion of the meeting provides the opportunity for individuals to speak to the application and have their comments considered by the planner and council before a report and a recommendation on the requested zoning amendment is brought forward for a decision at a subsequent council meeting. Any person from the audience who wishes to provide comments in support or opposition of the application may do so now by coming forward to the lectern and stating their name and address for the public record. Is there anybody in council chambers or online who would like to make comment? Seeing none, members of council now have the opportunity to ask any questions about the application. However, they may not offer any comments at this time. Members of council, any questions? Seeing none. If there's no further comments or questions, then the public meeting for this application is now concluded. The application will be scheduled to come before council at a subsequent meeting during which the planner's report and recommendation will be considered. As a reminder, if any member of the audience wishes to be notified of the decision of council in respect of any zoning bylaw amendments, they must submit a written request to Town Clerk Danielle Richard at danielle.richard@ingersoll.ca. The clerk must provide notice of council decisions to all those who request a copy within 15 days after the day the bylaw was passed. The Planning Act provides for an appeal to the Ontario Land Tribunal for a decision made by the town of Ingersoll within 20 days of the issuing of the notice of decision. Only specified persons, public bodies, registered owners of the land to which the plan may apply, the requester to amend the plan, and the minister may appeal the decision of the town to the Ontario Land Tribunal. Excluding the minister, any party wishing to make an appeal must have made written or oral submissions to the council at a public meeting. Please note that third parties, anyone who is not a specified person or public body, do not have the right to appeal the decision for a zone change amendment to the Ontario Land Tribunal. So with that, I will call upon Councillor Hudson, please.
Thank you, Mayor. Moved by myself, seconded by Councillor Hughes, that the Council of the Corporation of the Town of Ingersoll receive report CP 2026-101 as information.
Thank you. Discussion? All those in favor? Opposed? That is carried. Okay, that takes us into our delegations and presentations. Our first one is Meredith Maywood. I've had the pleasure of being at other delegation with Meredith recently, and I can tell you it's an excellent presentation. So welcome, Meredith, and thank you for, I can tell you from experience now that it's not always fun to travel around and schedule at all the different councils. I have a lot of respect for our clerks putting up with people, including myself, who are not very organized. And so I thank you for coming out to Ingersoll this evening. When you move it.
Mayor, members of council, thank you very much for having me here today. My name is Meredith Maywood, and I work for the County of Oxford in tourism. And once a year, we come around to the various councils in the county as part of our communications and our 5-year plan to provide an update on activities from the previous year and to provide an update on activities for the current year. When we start our presentations, I like to actually provide a bit of information about the importance of tourism. Tourism is it's a great asset for our communities. It's a lot of small and medium-sized businesses that thrive and are the draw within the tourism industry. And having tourism in a community also allows us to diversify our economy, particularly in times when there might be economic difficulties. It's a second line of income for businesses. So whether, for example, in rural, it's agritourism, it's a farm during the day, and it's also a tourism attraction. Or you could have a restaurant in town serving local residents, but they're also serving visitors coming to stay. When we look at tourism trends, we look at several varieties of data, one being looking at Destination Canada. And when we look at Canadians and their interest in traveling, and they are our primary audience is Canadians, they really enjoy novel, unique activities that are fun. They love connecting with friends and family, and they love to discover new places. They love small town. So obviously this is a great audience for coming to Oxford County, and we're very excited to say that Guestware Trips has now recognized this as a strong area, and they have a route coming through Oxford, which includes Ingersoll. When we look at statistics, it's over 1.3 million trips to Oxford County, so that's overnight visits. About 50% of those we estimate are visiting friends and family. And these are numbers from last year that we get through a data partnership with Ontario Southwest, which is our regional tourism organization. And we actually had a significant growth in Canadian visitors last year. At the beginning of the year, we were quite uncertain of how the year was going to play out. There was a lot of uncertainty in a lot of realms during the first quarter of the year, but we were excited to see an increase in visitation to the area. So when we talk about products that we have in Oxford County, first of all is Your Next Stop. So this is a new product that we've launched over the last couple years through a Tourism Growth Program fund. This program encourages people to visit stops within close proximity to each other. And last year we launched it in Woodstock, Tillsonburg, and Ingersoll. So in Ingersoll, if you're downtown and you see businesses with a feet, forks, and signs decal in their window, that means they're part of that tour. So what we're really trying to do is get people out to discover all the great places to visit within the town of Ingersoll. And we actually encourage people to walk a lot of it, because it's only, if you're going out, and fitness is something that's also of interest, you could walk through trails in the town of Ingersoll from the museum all the way into the downtown, grab a bite to eat, and then walk or bike your way back. With Oxford Tourism, we have a 5-year plan, and with this, we're really looking at having a vibrant tourism destination for Oxford County, and it's contributing to the economic, social, and environmental fabric of our community and our well-being. What we do in that is we work in 3 key areas, the first being destination management. So that's doing planning on what the trends are for tourism, what is coming in the future, and then also it's management to ensure that we're promoting the right things at the right time. So for instance, some areas have experienced over-tourism, so we take a preventative approach to that. Also product development, and that's when we're working and supporting businesses in partnership and letting them know what is coming down the pipe that consumers are looking for and how they could serve them. And then finally is marketing, and a lot of that we do in partnership with the tourism businesses as well, such as the Your Next Stop route. When we look at destination management, we did wrap up the Tourism Growth Program funding through FedDev last year. So that was a multi-year program. Also, when you look at what we invested, which was $55,000 into partnerships, it resulted in over $200,000 of partnership benefits. So for instance, us putting dollars into a shared ad, but the region is also putting funds in, and even Destination Ontario on occasion. So we participated in several campaigns like that as well, or our participation in Ontario Southwest photo partnerships, where they provide matching funds for us to go out and do photos, of which we did several last year here in Ingersoll and Oxford County. When it comes to product development, we did, as mentioned, develop Your Next Stop. We also hold training and networking events for businesses. So there was over 300 event registrations. to attend these activities. And something that we've launched is trying to get people together more within the industry and getting them to come out and network. So we started something called Hospitality Hop, and we're excited in 2026 to be working with the Ingersoll BIA and bringing that to Ingersoll this year. So that will encourage people to go out and visit other stops within their community, and that's something that we could offer on a regular basis. The program launched originally in partnership with Woodstock BIA, and this year the momentum is there. Within the first day, they had 12 registrations for people wanting to come and attend, and we look forward to having that growth happen across the county. And then also we have the Innovation Grant, and we do that in partnership with Rural Oxford and Community Futures Oxford. And that's when we give out 3 grants for businesses that are launching a new innovative tourism idea. And actually, Community Futures is hosting the judging night this week with judges external to Oxford County who review the applications and hear the pitches. When it comes to marketing, we did, as mentioned, have a successful year. We had a lot of media requests. We usually say we try to estimate around 5 to 8 a year, but we had over 29 media stories last year through a variety of channels. We actually were in Toronto Life magazine, and I was the one monitoring the visitor package requests that week, and within 24 hours we had 50 package requests as a result of that story. Our advertising as well, as we said, we did partnership activities that resulted in over 7 million marketing impressions on digital ads. So that's the number of times the ads that included us in them were seen by the public. And then also we launched our Tour Oxford campaign, or Our Oxford. And this is a campaign that's targeting our local residents to make them aware of what's available in their backyard. With the uncertainty last year, we thought it was very good timing to do a primary push for that campaign at the beginning of the year. And it's a campaign that we're going to be running annually. And it just leans in with taglines such as "It's just around the corner," "Happiness is homegrown," to get people to be proud of where they live and to get out and explore. And then also we did business survey, a resident survey, and a visitor survey last year. So this is going to be an annual activity, and it might morph over time if we start partnering with a larger group, but at this time it's all done in-house. And we received a variety of different findings from this, and we're going to have a more detailed report coming out shortly. But to give you a few highlights, businesses were asked to rate their level of satisfaction with services. So we were, for an 8 out of 10 or greater than 8, 85% of the businesses gave that rating. We were also seeing some variation in what people were seeing of the impact of consumer behavior on their business. So agritourism businesses were seeing increased visitation, whereas businesses that weren't necessarily agritourism, such as retail or restaurant, they were seeing consumer behavior, meaning a decrease in clients. So if you look at what's been happening in those sectors, that is understandable with what we are seeing across the board. But obviously we run programs then to support those businesses as well, such as our Oxford Eats program, which is a campaign promoting restaurants in January and February, which was free to all local restaurants to participate this year. The visitor survey was also completed at the same time, and we were seeing the peak months that people want to come. And we get this data through our other results as well. We can see when people are coming based on that trip data I showed earlier. But it did reaffirm, fall is a very solid time for visitation here. April also is a good time, but we were seeing a bit of an uptick in the summer months for where people were saying they wanted to come as well. But they were all giving large reviews for wanting to return and being willing to recommend it, visiting the area to their friends and family. And then the resident survey, so we had over 200 local residents participate, and 73% said they would recommend friends and family visit Oxford County. And what was really positive about this survey was that 84% of residents gave a rating of 8 plus out of 10, that Oxford County is a desirable place to visit, and they feel positive towards tourism in their community. So that means they see tourism as something for good that's benefiting the community, and they're happy to see it happening here, which is excellent. So for 2026, for the business plan, we're working with Oxford County Archives on discovering your roots genealogy tourism. So this will be providing tools and resources to help support people wanting to come to the area to investigate their genealogy. So for example, having lists of graveyards, churches, schools, etc. On our website, and then the places to go and do some of your research. Also, sustainable travel, that is also really resonating with Canadians and globally with visitors. So we're continuing to work to support businesses and letting them know about resources to add some sustainability efforts to their business. And then also we're launching Handcrafted Routes, which is an exciting new program for this year. In this program, we're actually hosting a planning meeting tomorrow with several local makers and then another session in May. And we're hoping to launch in September. So this is a program that is promoting people coming to Oxford County, whether you are an appreciator, as in you like to purchase and admire handmade items, whether that is fine art, pottery, glass, metal, wood, work, quilting in our community. Or if you're curious, just generally curious about it, you can come out and maybe learn to do it. For example, making a baseball like they would play with in the 1800s, like you can at the Beachville Museum. But then also it's for people that are very passionate about the handcrafted art, so people that would come and purchase supplies here and attend our art centers and cooperatives and our makers to take classes and attend retreats. So for example, we already have sold out retreats happening at the Elmhurst Inn here in Ingersoll, and we're hoping to see more of that in the future. And so just in closing, I just want to say thank you for the partnership with the town of Ingersoll and to remind you of the opportunities that we have available, such as I've mentioned, we have access to a variety of data on tourism in the area. We always appreciate if you are in touch with a business and you feel they may benefit from a discussion about what the opportunities are in tourism. We're always happy to connect with them. And also, we're always eager to discuss partnerships. And we appreciate how you're working to make this a welcoming, vibrant community, because that's appreciated by residents, but also visitors. So thank you very much, and I'm happy to take any questions you may have at this time.
Well, thank you very much. Obviously, Oxford's tagline is growing stronger together. And when it comes to tourism, that's really true, is that the more products you have to offer, the stronger that product is. So appreciate the highlights on there, and I'm certainly excited about the handcrafted routes. We have a lot of great things in Ingersoll, and we're going to. So I'll open the floor up to council for questions. Deputy Mayor, please.
Thank you, Mayor, through you. Thank you for the presentation. It's always really amazing the amount of work and the amount of impact that I don't know how many people are on the team now, but I'm assuming not very many. And the impact your team has across the county is always very incredible. And the return on that investment of the staff is wonderful to see, and I think we're all very proud of it. And I have a question that I hope doesn't put you on the spot, but I have a feeling you will answer it with ease. But for a business that doesn't traditionally think of themselves as a tourism business, again, I'm always impressed by how your team can kind of brainstorm what they're passionate about and new revenue streams. Could you talk a little bit about how you would support a business that maybe isn't having a tourism product now, but there's opportunity to work with your staff to explore what that might look like?
Yes, through the mayor to Deputy Mayor Wilson. We're regularly connecting with a variety of businesses. So we work very closely, for example, with the Small Business Center, and I just referred a business to them the other day. And we're happy to sit down with anybody because there's so many opportunities, and what a business considers their everyday is somebody else's extraordinary. So, for example, if there is somebody who, well, actually here in town, I met someone and they are actually making games, but they're doing them out of wood and they're laser cutting and designing them all. And so we had a meeting with them and we were connecting them with maybe the Beachville Museum would be a good opportunity to sell some of those games. But then just to make them aware that, you know, this is a product that would be of interest to visitors. So it's really just having those conversations and finding out what interests them and finding the alignment in what they're wanting to accomplish in the order they want to accomplish it. with, the opportunity that we have available. So regardless of what stage they're at in their trajectory, we're happy to chat with them, knowing that we can probably pick the conversation up again in the future.
Councillor Halleran, please.
Yeah, thank you, Meredith, and thank you for a very wonderful presentation, as always. Question I have is, I've often wondered what our farmers could do better to attract more tourism, and I heard you mention that there's been growth. So can you give us an idea of what kinds of packaging did they do recently to see that growth?
Through the mayor to Councillor Halleran. So we're not sure where the growth is coming from, but what we see in the Destination Canada data is people are craving outdoors, and the farm opportunities provide that. If you consider you're coming from a large urban center, open space is at a premium. So that's some of the opportunity with the farms for sure. So yeah, it's definitely more to be learned and to see what's going to happen this year with trends as well. But I couldn't really comment on whether they did something in particular to experience that. It could have just been the timing was right. During COVID, when people really needed to get out, going to a farm was an activity that became very popular, because it also addressed when people were looking at, where am I going to get my eggs? There was some food shortage, supply issues at some of the stores. So they decided to make an outing of it at the same time.
Excellent. Further questions? Thank you very much, Meredith. Just one last question. Where can everybody find all the great information about tourism Oxford?
So for visitors, they can visit tourismoxford.ca. All businesses in Oxford County that qualify have a free listing on there. If they don't qualify, we want to work with them to see how they could qualify for a listing. And then for businesses, go to oxfordcounty.ca/tourism. And I do suggest subscribing to the industry newsletter for local businesses, because that's a great way to learn about upcoming opportunities, workshops, networking, etc.
Thank you very much. Just one last reminder that, with gas prices being where they are, nothing's better than some homegrown tourism, and Oxford County's got a lot of amazing things to explore right in our own backyard and right in our own town. So thank you for the partnership and the information. Councillor Hughes, please.
Thank you, Mayor. Moved by myself, Councillor Hughes, seconded by Councillor Van Kooten-Bosens, that the Council of the Corporation of the Town of Ingersoll receive Meredith Maywood's delegation regarding the Oxford County Tourism Annual Update as information.
Discussion? All those in favor? Opposed? That is carried. Best of luck with any other delegations that you have on your tour. Okay, that'll take us to our second delegation. Scott Van Schyndel. Sorry. Scotch and Ponder. We know that. Advertising policy. Please come up the lecterns.
Good evening, Mayor and members of Council. Briefly before I start, I just want to also extend my thanks to Meredith and her team for the incredible work that they do. I have firsthand experience working with her and her team. Thank you very much for the support. My name is Scott Van Schyndel. I'm the co-owner of Scotch and Ponder, a locally owned small business located on 10th Street South. I'm here today to speak about the town's advertising policy as it relates to recreational facilities and the request for clarification that would allow businesses like ours to participate in supporting community infrastructure. Recently, I reached out to the town to inquire about sponsorship and advertising opportunities at facilities such as the Ingersoll Memorial Arena, local baseball diamonds, and pickleball courts. Our intention was straightforward. It was to support local recreation while increasing awareness of our business. So we were advised that under the current interpretation of the policy, our businesses are not permitted to advertise in these spaces due to restrictions related to alcohol. So I took the time to review the policy in detail, and the specific clause states that advertising is not permitted where it promotes alcohol at venues or on town property where persons under the legal drinking age would congregate. So I want to be clear that we fully support the intent behind the policy. We do not condone or encourage alcohol consumption by minors in any way, and responsible service is a core part of our business practice. However, I believe that there is an important distinction that is not currently being recognized in how the town policy is being applied or interpreted. Our opinion is that there is a difference between promoting alcohol consumption and identifying a local business that happens to serve alcohol. Right now, those two things are being treated as the same. So our request is not to promote any alcohol, it's just to participate in local business, or as a local business in supporting community facilities, just as many other businesses do. At its core, Scotch and Ponder is a hospitality business, very much in line with other local establishments like Chuck's Roadhouse, Dino's, Joker's Crown, offering food, beverage, and social experience within the community. The current interpretation of the policy effectively excludes an entire category of local businesses from participating in sponsorship opportunities. This creates a few challenges. First, it limits the revenue that could help offset some of the cost of recreational programs and facilities within the town. Second, it restricts opportunities for local businesses to contribute and be visible within the community. And third, it may go beyond the spirit of the policy, no pun intended, which is to prevent exposure to alcohol promotion, not to prevent forms of business identification. There's also a broader economic impact that I think is important to recognize. Scotch and Ponder is not an isolated business. We actively promote and support other local businesses through our operations. When somebody enjoys a charcuterie board with us, we direct them to the wine cellar and cheese shop across the street where they might be able to buy the same products that they tried with us. When somebody asks about our custom glassware and coasters, we share that they were produced by a local business and etched to remember. The craftsmanship of our tables comes from Neil at Dynamic Tile and Woodworks, whose shop is across the street from the Independent. When somebody enjoys our local beer, like a cream ale, we send them down the street to Ingersoll Rails to explore more of their offerings. Even items like our pretzels and focaccia bread are sourced from Ye Olde Bakery Cafe, and we actively encourage customers to visit them. So when we bring people to Ingersoll, that economic activity does not necessarily stop at our door. It spreads across multiple local businesses. Advertising that helps bring visitors to Scotch and Ponder has a multiplier effect within the community. So rather than challenge the policy itself, I'm here to request a very simple clarification. We're asking council consider allowing brand-only sponsorship signage for licensed businesses, provided that it meets clear guidelines, such as no references to consumption, no promotional language related to alcohol, strictly a business name, logo, and a community-oriented message like Scotch and Ponder, proud supporter of Ingersoll Recreation. This approach maintains the integrity and the intent of the policy while allowing local businesses to participate in a responsible and appropriate way. It also aligns with the town's stated goals of balancing public interest with revenue generation and community benefit. In many communities, and even at the highest levels of sports, this distinction is already recognized and managed successfully. And this is not about changing the policy, it's about ensuring that the application is practical, fair, and reflective of its original purpose. As a local business owner, I want to be able to support the same community facilities that my family and many others in this town use and enjoy. Right now, there's no pathway to do that. I'm asking the council to help create one. Thank you very much for your time, and I'm happy to take any questions.
Thank you very much, Scott. What I'll do first, just before I ask questions, because it may answer some, is I'm going to ask, Councillor Van Coulen-Boston does have a motion, and then we can have questions afterwards or debate.
Certainly. Moved by myself, seconded by Deputy Mayor Wilson, that the Council of the Corporation of the Town of Ingersoll receive Scott van Schyndel's delegation regarding the advertising policy as information, and further that Council directs staff to review the policy and report back to Council regarding the items identified by the delegation.
Okay. Now I'll open up to questions or comment. Councillor Van Coulen-Boston.
Yeah, no, you can have it. It's all good. I can give that to you. Thank you very much, Scott, for your delegation. I think that I think he's right. I think that the spirit of the policy needs to be looked at, and I would more than anything like it to go back to staff and have them come back with some thoughts around it, and then we can really, I think, debate it at that point. That's why at first I was like, I don't want to just receive this. I wanted it to go back and be really looked at, because I think that we are missing out. And I understand you don't want to promote drinking. I don't want to promote drinking either. But I also, this council also allowed the marijuana places to open up as well. And that's right across from places that we have kids. So at this point in time, I think that we need to look at that policy again. So thank you, Scott, for bringing it forward to us. So that's for me.
Councillor Halleru, please.
Thank you. First of all, I want to thank Scott for doing the homework. This is a beautiful thing that when people have policy affect them, if they can interpret and understand and then call attention to that policy, it just drives things forward. And like Christy says, we've had to look at things recently with a different lens, and I think this is a very great opportunity to reflect what's missing sometimes in a message when we don't intend it. So just wanted to really thank him for taking the time to break it down that way. Congratulations on your new business, and hopefully I'm supporting that staff take a look at that again and probably bring it back for some, maybe a different take on it.
Excellent. Further questions or comments? Councillor Hughes, please.
Thank you, Mayor. Yeah, excellent, excellent delegation. Thank you for bringing that to our attention. It's something that needs to be addressed and looked at. And as you said, you're not looking to say, hey, drink this here. You're saying, we support you as a community. And that's, that's all about the businesses within the community, is supporting community. And that's what we want. That's what we like. And that's what we are here to generate. I do have one question for staff. I know you guys are busier than one-armed paper hangers. How long would it take before you'd have a report on this?
Through the mayor to you, Councillor Hughes. So this is a community services policy. In the absence of a director right now, it might take a little bit longer. We could ask the person who is acting in their capacity to bring it back and review it. But it might be a month or two, just given the direction from the CAO and how he'd like to see that handled.
Perfect, thank you.
Further questions or comments? Again, I'll just echo, I appreciate the route that you took, that you've come before council and educated us on an issue. And I think that I certainly support council's direction of letting staff have a look at that with that lens in mind of, I think very valid concerns that are brought forward. But yeah, that's how we get better policies, just by looking at that and updating it. And so certainly that, again, I always like action through policy, because then if you've had to go through something, then the next person doesn't, right? So it leads to better results, and we can continue that support for our business community that we thank so very much. Further questions or comments? All those in favor? Opposed? That is carried. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, wait for Councillor Bowman to return from wherever he disappeared to. There he is.
Yeah, by all means.
Okay. That concludes our delegations presentations, and now we'll go to special staff reports. The first one is report C-015-26, and I will turn that over to our clerk, Danielle Richard.
Thank you. This report presents bylaw 265456, which proposes a series of targeted amendments to the town's consolidated traffic and parking bylaw. These updates address operational and enforcement challenges while formalizing previously approved council direction, particularly regarding permit parking and modernized enforcement frameworks. So the bylaw introduces 5 key amendment areas that I'll go over briefly. The first one formalizes new daytime and overnight permit parking categories and expands permit parking within the Market Lane municipal parking lot and designates the Oxford Street South lot as entirely permit. Associated fines and winter maintenance requirements have been established within the bylaw to ensure year-round compliance and operational efficiency, as well as a new short-form wording for set fines. The Second Amendment area relates to accessible parking enforcement. The proposed approach shifts enforcement from a schedule-based to sign-based framework. Under the authority of the Municipal Act and aligned with the Highway Traffic Act standards, any space marked with an official accessible sign, as noted in the bylaw, whether on public or private property, can be enforced without being individually listed in the bylaw schedules. This really just reduces the administrative burden of trying to maintain a very up-to-date schedule, especially with new development. But we will still be maintaining a schedule for on-street parking. That's not captured in the Integrated Accessibility Standards Regulation, similar to off-street parking requirements that are. So we will be maintaining a schedule for on-street parking because that is designated by council and to keep a record of where everything is. The third change concerns fire lane enforcement standards. So similar to accessible parking, fire lane enforcement will now be based on the presence of clearly posted signage rather than static bylaw descriptions that are often subject to the author's interpretation or outdated business names, as is currently reflected in the bylaw. These routes are often established through site plan control agreements, so they are required, and they fall under the town's authority to protect public safety on private and public lands. But to ensure permanent record of these fire lanes, the town will continue to maintain an internal GIS database to complement the sign-based enforcement. So we will keep these all through GIS. The fourth change relates to heavy trucks. So the bylaw's current prohibition-based model, which restricts specific streets from heavy truck traffic, is being replaced with a permissive framework. So we are going to clearly identify the routes that permit heavy truck traffic, while the rest of the routes will be restricted by default, with essential exemptions for local deliveries, emergency services, and municipal operations, as is noted in the bylaw. The restructure addresses existing enforcement issues within the current bylaw and simplifies the enforcement process. And lastly, the bylaw is being updated to clarify EV charging regulations. So really just to ensure turnover and to codify that the vehicle can be parked there while actively charging, and that the 3-hour rule applies, and then they have to move thereafter. So the bylaw as written was a little, it lacked some clarity. So the amendments are largely administrative. There are some signs that will be posted. I did hear from the Director of Operations. He anticipates that the heavy truck signage should be up by mid-May. And I'm happy to answer any questions about it.
Councillor Hughes, please.
Thank you. Through you, Mayor, to the clerk. Enforcement. I know previously with the OPP contract, and I know that's no longer a thing, but we did have the OPP enforcing some bylaws for us. Will the OPP still be doing that, or is this going to be strictly on our with bylaw enforcement now with the town of Ingersoll?
Through the mayor to you, and then I might rely on Chief Holmes. My understanding is that the OPP will still enforce some bylaws, but based on availability and priority. So I think a lot of the consolidated traffic and parking bylaw is enforced through our enforcement officers, but I'll refer to or defer to the chief on that.
Sure, if I could chime in there. I think you're absolutely correct. The on-street parking infractions are enforced by the OPP occasionally, depending on their manpower and what the infraction is. They likely will not enforce any of the fire routes or accessible parking spaces off-street. if that makes sense.
Follow up to that. Okay, thank you for clarifying that. Are we as a town looking at bolstering or building up our bylaw enforcement team? Will we need to? Should we?
I would say that since the CAO isn't here at this meeting, I would say that a service level decision that usually comes from budget and from council direction.
All right, I'll ask that in the fall.
But certainly that
I
is
guess
something.
no, that's budget election year, yeah, okay.
But I think, just to speak to that though, I think that is the better part about bylaw enforcement where the town does do it, because if we're just reliant on the OPP, we get that level of service. But certainly we've seen that with that going to commissionaires, we've seen that level of service increase already. And I think that's where we as around the table can say what level of service we want. We can have results depending on how much we would like to spend.
I'll also chime in. I don't think it's a matter of we're getting a ton more complaints. It's just that when you look at the bylaw, there was some difficulties with enforcing certain sections based on the way they were written. So this will just enable enforcement and provide some clarity.
Further questions of the report? Seeing none, I will call upon Deputy Mayor Wilson, please.
Moved by myself, seconded by Councillor Bowman, that the Council of the Corporation of the Town of Ingersoll receive staff report CO15-26 as information, and that Council adopt amending bylaw 26-5456 as attached to the April 13th, 2026 Council agenda as presented.
Very much discussion. Yeah, I think this is an excellent example of just what we saw from the last delegation, is that as things evolve and stuff like that, there's different ways to do stuff. And I think it's the same as well as just putting the position in someone instead of the actual name of a person. So when it comes to like the areas where it's the fire rows and the accessible parking and stuff like that, the bylaw doesn't have to keep coming back every time that there's something added. So I think that's a great way to go forward. There is the permit parking in there, which is certainly a change, and there's been some, what I would recommend to people is if you don't understand how that works, contact the clerk's office. For whatever reason, there's been some misinterpretation about what that decision was, and certainly not all of the parking lots can be permit parking, but it's always the recommendation of anyone with any of the policy of the town of Ingersoll, the best place to call is the town and get clarification on that. So everybody knows what's happening, and I know our staff have been doing a great job on that. So appreciate that, and hopefully we'll get less truck traffic where we don't want it. Any further discussion? All those in favor? Opposed? That's carried. And that takes us down to C-016-26, New Columbarium.
And the Deputy Clerk, Julie Clayton, is going to be presenting this report to Council.
Thank you. Good evening, Council. I'm here to present a report regarding the purchase and installation of a new columbarium at the Ingersoll Rural Cemetery. As Council is aware, the cemetery is now jointly operated with the Township of Zora, with the town responsible for administration and the township responsible for operations under a cost-sharing model. We currently have 4 columbarium units on site. The first 3 are fully sold, and the 4th has only 15 of its 48 niches remaining. I think I can officially say that that's 14. As cremation continues to become a more preferred option, we are seeing steady demand, and staff have identified the need to expand now to avoid running out of inventory. And this need was also identified by the previous board before the town took over operation of the cemetery. So staff have obtained 3 quotes and are recommending proceeding with Ingersoll, Tilsonburg, and Thames Memorials, who supplied the 4 existing units. This maintains consistency in appearance and layout, and their submission was also the most cost-effective, as it included all components of the project. The recommended unit is a 96-niche columbarium, which provides a good balance between capacity and cost efficiency. Staff are also seeking council approval for a potential purchase of a second unit in the future, if needed, when needed. Financially, the cost of one unit is approximately $39,000 plus HST. The Township of Zorro will be responsible for their 12.5% share, and they're bringing a similar report to their council this week. Staff are recommending that the Cemetery Care and Maintenance Fund be used to fund the purchase, with the expectation that costs will be recovered over time through niche sales. And in summary, this report is about planning ahead to meet community needs and ensuring inventory is available when it's needed. I'm happy to answer any questions.
Thank you very much. There we get to see the exciting stuff that the cemetery board got to deal with. Councillor Hughes.
Absolutely. This is, it's going to be, the layout will be similar to what's in the report here with the one unit, but potentially two coming closer to the main roadway there. That's great to keep that little, I'm going to say that little area all together, which is really good, and which was the reason why being a past member of the council rep, on the cemetery board, we went with this idea as opposed to starting up a whole new little area for the niches. It's good to see that we're going with the 96. I know the ones that we have there now are not 96, but it's interesting to see the transitioning from just regular in-ground burial to Columbarium, the niches, the need for the niches, cremation. So it's great, and definitely a big supporter of Ingersoll, Tillsonburg, Thames Memorials. They have done wonderful work for us in the past, or for the cemetery in the past, and have been very, very helpful in many different cases. So, great report, and definitely supportive of it for sure.
Further questions? I would say that just for an education thing, item for the rest of council is that columbariums is one of the few things that actually does make a profit at a cemetery. So selling those niches does return enough to be able to fund the further items. Now, maybe in this case, maybe not because they're larger, but that seems to be the best way to go because they are quickly picking up sales. It was not that long ago that final one was put in. The first one took a long time, and then each successive one. And so I certainly support the larger units, and I have no problem giving approval for both of those. But yeah, it is one of the few ones where you're using less land, you're being more dense, and this is what everybody's wanting to, the product that people want. Councillor Hughes, please.
Just one more question to the deputy clerk. When it comes to the sale of the niches, will you be continuing on with the sales structure that we had, or pricing structure that the cemetery board had initially?
Through the mayor, that's a really good question. That will have to be addressed in our user fees bylaw and have to come back to council for approval when the time comes. That pricing model was based on a four-tier model, and so this, I believe, has 6 to 8. So it will probably be slightly different, and we will have to come back to council to approve that. And I would also add and clarify that we cannot start selling until the unit is fully installed. So it'll be a while until we get to that point.
Further questions? I'll call upon Councillor Bowman.
Yes, Mayor. Moved by myself, Councillor Bowman, seconded by Councillor Hudson, that the Council of the Corporation of the Town of Ingersoll receives report C-016-26 as information, and that Council approve the purchase and installation of one 96 niche rectangular columbarium at the Ingersoll Rural Cemetery from Ingersoll, Tillsonburg, and Thames Memorials in the amount of $38,998 plus HST, and that Council authorize staff to submit an application to the Bereavement Authority of Ontario for approval to install up to 2 96 niche columbaria, and that Council authorize staff to request authorization from the Bereavement Authority of Ontario, BOA, to utilize funds from the Care and Maintenance Fund for the purchase of the columbarium, and further that, Should approval from the BAO not be granted or the approved amount be insufficient, council authorize staff to fund the project from municipal sources, including operation funds, the cemetery reserve, or the tax stabilization reserve as required.
Thank you very much. Discussion. All those in favor? Opposed? That is carried. Wait upon Zora's results. Moving down to C-017-26, updates to boards and committees. Actually, I'm going to go to Deputy Mayor Wilson first, please.
Thank you, Mayor, through you. Forgive me for overlooking this at the beginning, but I should declare a conflict of interest on this particular report because one of the appointments is a relative. There was a slight typo in the original version, and so I messaged a relative and said, are we related to this person? And it was that person who I had texted. So I will excuse myself from the conversation and submit the form after.
Thank you very much for that. And now I'll turn it over to the clerk, please.
Apologies, I see where that typo was. So this report briefly is just to seek council's approval to add 2 members by appointment to the Ingersoll Sports Hall of Fame Committee. I recognize we are quite late in the term. This is a newly formed committee, though, so staff are of the opinion that it would be beneficial to add these 2 individuals, and they are still actively meeting and making decisions. So we do think it would be appropriate at this point in time. I'm happy to answer any questions.
Any questions of the report? Seeing none, Councillor Hudson, please.
Through you, Mayor, moved by myself, seconded by Councillor Hughes, that the Council of the Corporation of the Town of Ingersoll receives staff report C-017-26 as information, and that Council approve the appointment of Jay Vise and Elizabeth McKinnon to the Ingersoll Sports Hall of Fame Committee, and further that Council approve amendments to bylaw 23-5264 to reflect this change.
Thank you very much. Discussion. Councillor Van Kouten-Bosens.
Thank you. I will be full support of this. I sit on the Sports Hall of Fame Committee, and it is nice to have a few more come and join us. There's not too many of us, so I'm excited that we could welcome Jay Vise and Elizabeth McKinnon. Elizabeth was inducted, I think it was last year, if I remember correctly, and Jay brings a wealth of knowledge and lots of contacts as well. It's always difficult to know who's out there, and it really is about getting the word out there that we're looking for people to have names put forward that should be into that Sports Hall of Fame. So I know that having 2 more people sitting at the table with us will be a great addition. So I thank them for putting their names forward, and I hope that all of you will join me in saying yes to having this motion go through. So thank you.
Thank you very much. I certainly don't have a problem with adding people whenever they want to serve, because I don't think that committee, well, it's up to the next council, but I don't see it going away.
Yeah, no.
Lots of work to do.
Yeah, lots and lots to do.
Further discussion? All those in favor? Opposed? That is carried. I'll call the deputy mayor back in. And that takes care of our special staff reports. And then we will go down to correspondence and resolution. And the first one is the Township of Norwich, Safe and Well Oxford request. I'll go with the Deputy Mayor Wilson. The only thing I'll remind everybody is that council has already considered this at a past meeting. So if we are going to do anything, substantial besides the information, then we're going to have to deal with reconsideration. So I will turn it over to the Deputy Mayor then.
So I do have a motion prepared, which I'll table and then speak to that if that's all right with the mayor. So whereas council approved the final draft of the revised Safe and Well Oxford plan and endorsed Oxford County as the lead on its implementation at the January 12th regular meeting of council, And whereas council acknowledges the systemic discrimination and other social factors faced by the priority groups and the legislative obligation to address these barriers through the implementation of the Safe and Well plan. And whereas council supports naming the priority groups as listed in the plan, including Indigenous peoples, racialized populations, newcomers, 2S LGBTQIA+ individuals, people with disabilities, older adults, and youth. Therefore, the Council of the Corporation of Ingersoll received the correspondence from the Township of Norwich regarding Safe and Well as information.
And Councillor Van Kooten-Bosson, second?
Yes.
Perfect.
Yes.
Yep, go ahead.
Thank you. Through you, I think what we received from the Township of Norwich even explicitly said this is just one little change. But I went back and watched the meeting, and just the language and the conversation and the discussion they had is far from requesting one little change. I have a few comments from that meeting just to kind of elaborate on that. One of the quotes from the meeting: every time I turn around, there's a new priority group, whether it's in the news or in my community, whether that's someone who has chosen to represent themselves as a cat or a dog. So whether that's a priority group, I do not know. And that's a direct quote from the council meeting. Someone who decides to start the line at the convenience store because they have cat ears, I do not consider that as a priority. If Oxford County is going to use language as priority groups, outline what those are so there's understanding there. The priority groups are listed many times in the report, for the first time on page 7, which are the ones I listed in the motion. And further, and perhaps more concerning, one of the councillors goes on to almost explicitly say they do not believe that 2S LGBTQI individuals should be listed as priority groups at all. So to characterize this as just one small change was really not the conversation that I witnessed in that meeting. So that's one part of it. But the other part of it is that the Community Safety and Policing Act explicitly dictates, and this is a quote from the legislation, that a plan shall identify risk factors including, without limitation, systemic discrimination and other social factors that contribute to crime, victimization, addiction, overdose, suicide, and other risk factors. So these priority groups and the risk factors, that is what we hired the consultant to identify, and that is what we pay staff to tell us what they are going to do. So all of the concerning conversation aside, this is also what we are legislatively required to deliver on. So I think it's important to be really specific in our motion to say that we've already gone through this, and actually we support what staff have already come to the conclusion of through the plan.
And I'll just follow that up. I agree 1,000% with what the deputy mayor said. I also watched that meeting, and I agree with what the intent of the motion is, just to receive this information, but I do agree with calling out what was said there, because they're not asking for substantive change to a definition. They're not asking for substantive change. The comments were rooted in hate, and that was plain to see when watching the context, and comments are always, those are always the key. There is what the context is, and certainly that's not something I want to be part of. And I think that the whole thing of the safe and well is the exact opposite of that. So I certainly support the motion. Further comment? All in favor? Opposed? Thank you very much. Do you have that writing? Okay. I'll just, it's carried. That takes us now to Township of Eastward Tavistock, Safe and Well, Oxford, and Councillor Van Kooten-Bosson.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Moved by myself, seconded by Deputy Mayor Wilson, that the Council of the Corporation of the Town of Ingersoll receive the correspondence from the Township of Eastward Tavistock regarding the Safe and Well Oxford plan as information.
Thank you very much. Discussion? Deputy Mayor Wilson.
Thank you, Mayor, through you. I'm not sure that any other municipality chose to circulate this when they dealt with it, their council, but I don't believe anyone else was in support of what Norwich was requesting. The clerk, I think, could correct me. I think SWOC's kind of entertained some version of it, but I think at the end of the day that language didn't receive any support to change it from any other municipality.
Clerk, please.
This is the only other resolution that we have received from the municipalities. We have not received SWOC's. so I can't comment on it, but East Aurora Tavistock did circulate to all of the lower tiers in the county.
I believe Tilsonburg is dealing with it tonight as well. I was at the meeting when SWOX dealt with it. They went in a completely different direction. So they did not endorse Norwich. They came up with a SWOX item, which I'm sure will be available at some point. But it was a made in SWOX approach. So, sorry. Discussion? All those in favor? Opposed? Oh, Councillor Halleru, did you have a?
Yeah, I was just going to add that it is important. I don't know if I want to respond to that, but just to make sure that you don't have to be part of a minority group or priority group to have a say. Like by law, we're legally binded by these protections for different groups. And I wonder if we should actually reiterate that and circulate as well. I'm not sure if you want to even respond, but I just wondered if maybe a reminder that like the obligations and legalities around everything and protecting groups, just for everyone to respect those groups.
No, and I certainly agree with you. I think that's what council did when we dealt with approving the safe and well originally. And that's what East Aurora Tavistock is saying as well. And so I think that, you're certainly correct. And I think that council was correct the first time. So I think we can move on from that one. All in favor? Opposed? That is carried. Okay. We'll go to number 3, which is Township of Norwich again, small scale added value, added business subclass. And Councillor Hughes, please.
Thank you. Moved by myself, Councillor Hughes, seconded by Councillor Bowman, that the Council of the Corporation of the Town of Ingersoll receive the correspondence from the Township of Norwich regarding small-scale value-added business subclass as information.
Thank you very much. Discussion? I can get, sorry, Councillor Halleru, please.
Yeah, it was nice to see this one because again, someone's thought deeply about how some broad taxation affect other people. I just want to say I'm fully in support of it. I think I like the idea that that was just circulated for us to think about small businesses that have to operate on their farms. And always, I know there was a case sometime I heard from someone whose tax rate was so high they were just trying to run a small business on their farm. So this was a welcome development.
I will say that Oxford County, a lot of this correspondence came to Oxford County as part of the setting the tax ratios, and this was included. This time it does affect just, I believe it's 7 properties within Oxford County, and that result in a difference of $3,700. But it was more of a showing support for that direction. So that was approved and added to the item. So.
I just want to add, I think it's important that we are looking ahead because there's so many people that weren't doing much of that because of that implication. So this, I think, was a step in the right direction.
Thank you. Further discussion? All those in favor? That's carried. And Councillor Bowman, City of Woodstock, please.
Thank you, Mayor. Moved by myself, seconded by Councillor Hudson, that the Council of the Corporation of the Town of Ingersoll receives its correspondence from the City of Woodstock regarding health and safety concerns as information, and that the Council of the Corporation of Ingersoll supports the City of Woodstock's resolution requesting provincial legislation amendments to improve protection for municipal public workers and subcontractors, including the requested legislation and enforcement measures listed in the resolution.
Thank you very much. Discussion. Councillor Hughes, please.
Yeah, it's unfortunate that this needs to be addressed because of the, some vitriol that is unfortunately slung at municipal workers, be it staff, administration, or the regular everyday public works, parks. It's just a very unfortunate situation, and definitely support this because there should be none of that going on. to the point of where it has reached in recent years. And, you know, it's just the same thing. You don't go to Canadian Tire and yell and scream at the person that's just there to cash you through because you didn't like a particular product. So it's, again, unfortunate but necessary.
Thank you. Further comment? Yeah, it's nobody can predict the weather, and we have some great people that go out across municipalities that have to deal with it. You know, they lose sleep, they're away from their families, and and certainly within the town of Ingersoll, we know they provide an excellent service level that you know, there's lots of compliments on. But I can be honest, I've received what I would consider inappropriate emails from people as well, and there's been actions within our own community that are inappropriate. Everybody deserves to go home and not be harassed on the job or be fearful when they're out on the job. So I can certainly support this, and you know, regardless of the situation, how frustrated somebody is, certainly not acting out that you wouldn't do in a regular situation is not appropriate either. So certainly support that. Any further comment? All those in favor? Opposed? That is carried. And that takes us down to 2026 Tractor Skills Game. Councillor Hudson, please.
Thank you. Moved by myself, seconded by Councillor Hughes, that the Council of the Corporation of the Town of Ingersoll receive the correspondence from the 2026 Tractor Skills Games as information.
Thank you very much. Discussion? Councillor Hudson?
Just not sure if anybody wanted to discuss if we wanted to do a sponsorship, or, I mean, the information provided was check off a box if we want to sponsor. I don't know if this has been something that has been sponsored in the past or not. No? Okay, just checking.
Councillor Van Koop-Bosens?
I was just going to say, it's a pretty brand new thing that has happened. It's been over the last couple of years. I pass by it when I'm heading out to Spring Lake, and it's on the right-hand side as you go out to Verschoyle, but it doesn't fall within our border. And I guess that's where I'm looking at it thinking, to me, this is something for that municipality to look at, not for us in that respect. I respect that they've come and asked. I think that what they're trying to raise money for, there is great, a great need for that. It's the Children's Hospital in London, and God knows that we have lots of kids that go there. But again, it's just, I'm sorry, it's not within our municipality, and so I have a hard time supporting something like that. So I think that the way you've received it is good for me, but that's my own thoughts. So thanks.
I certainly agree with that, but if anybody wants to participate, you know, it's driven past it well, it looks interesting, and so, you know, that's part of our great rural culture out there. But besides driving tractors to school every once in a while, we don't get a lot of tractors in town. But, further discussion? All those in favor? Opposed? That's carried. And Councillor Hughes, VON, please.
Thank you, Mayor. Moved by myself, Councillor Hughes, seconded by Councillor Van Koop-Bosens, that the Council of the Corporation of the Town of Ingersoll receive the correspondence from the VON Canada regarding VON Week as information, and that Council approve the raising of the VON flag in Dewan Park from May 17th to the 23rd, and that Council direct staff to obtain the VON flag from VON Canada in advance of May 17th.
Thank you very much. Discussion? Councillor Hughes?
No, I don't have a problem with that. I thought that our flag program was decided upon by administration as opposed to coming to council, but now that I think back, we make those decisions. I have no problem with supporting this. It's a good show of support of VON Week. VON, Victorian Order of Nurses, been around for how many years? Number of years. 100 years. So I think it'd help bring awareness to the VON and the great work that they do. And yeah, I don't have a problem supporting this at all.
Further discussion? All those in favor? Opposed? That is carried. And I will turn to Councillor Van Kootenbosens, the Oxford County Pride Committee.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Moved by myself and seconded by Deputy Mayor Wilson that the correspondence from the Oxford County Pride be received as information and that council approve the raising of the progressive pride flag in Dewan Park on June 1st for the month, and that council direct staff to obtain the progressive pride flag from Oxford County Pride in advance of June 1st, and further that council sponsor the annual pride guide in the amount of $1,000 to be funded from the grants to volunteer organizations account.
Thank you very much. Discussion. Councillor Van Kootenbosens.
If I remember correctly, last year we sponsored them in the amount of $1,000, which is why I went with that again this year. Again, the raising of the pride flag has always been something that we've done, and I will continue to be very supportive of that. So,
Further discussion? Certainly supportive of this, as always. The only thing I would request as part of the part of the communication to them is requesting that sponsorships be included in the timeline of others. I recognize there's a new group there, but it does always seem like we do get the sponsorship late. So to be fair to others, we want to make sure. I have no problem supporting it, but it's just one of those things where if we could communicate to them that our normal schedule, so they can be aware of that. Any further discussion? All those in favor? Opposed? That is carried. And can you provide that, you have it, to the resolution? Okay, thank you. Excellent. And now we'll go to our last one, which is the Conservation Authority. Deputy Mayor Wilson, please.
Moved by myself, seconded by Councillor Bowman, that the Council of the Corporation of the Town of Ingersoll receive the correspondence from the Town of Plymouth, Wyoming regarding conservation authorities as information.
Thank you very much. Discussion? This is working out very well that I've asked for all these to bring forward because I get to speak about it. As a representative on Oxford UTRCA and as the chair, I've been going around. I haven't requested a delegation because I shouldn't delegate to my own council, but to the rest of the municipalities within the watershed. I was at WOW-C on Friday and I'll be going to the counties, Middlesex County tomorrow. This is still progressing forward, and there's still a number of concerns. The legislation that was brought up part of the budget is just about how they transition. There's been nothing to address the concerns of the province, and we were able to have a meeting with Minister Flack as watershed mayors about this, thanks to Josh Morgan for arranging that at London City Hall. To raise some of those concerns across the watershed as far as reserves and those items being raised locally. So there's still, there's 14,000 submissions. The government, what they've put out so far does not address those concerns. And it's still going ahead. We are a smaller unit going from 81 municipalities now to 39. But from what we're hearing, a lot of that stuff that we'll be looking forward to know what's happening will not happen in the fall. And they're still pushing for a February 1st transition date. There's a lot of work in a short period of time to happen, but Oxford County is a little bit unique in that the upper tier already pays the tab, but you will lose representation. Lower tiers will not have representation there, so you'll be lucky if Oxford County has one. So that's the biggest fear there is that I consider us more rural than urban, or small urban, and certainly that's the biggest fear is it's population based. Certainly those larger population centers are going to control the board. Then also the province has said that they want to be able to limit board size. Municipalities conservation authorities have always been a municipally controlled, a municipally led organization. That is gone. The province has created the Ontario Conservation, the OPCA, the Ontario Provincial Conservation Agency. They are appointing board members to that. They haven't yet. They have to. Those board members will create all policy. When it comes to governance, their number one goal is the governance and the services and policies. So is it municipally led anymore? Probably not. You're probably just going to get a bill. They control who will be the new CAOs of these regions for up to a period of 2 years. They will be appointing the person who does that. So even at the regional level, like at the county level, we will get the bill and we will be there, but we will have no say in policy because that is directed from the agency. The person who's in charge is directed by agency. So really, you are getting a bill without representation. The changes was before that the Conservation Authority, where it had to be elected officials, that was the change the last time. And if I go over, you can stop me. But now they're changing that to it doesn't. And in fact, there was comments made that it shouldn't be elected officials on there. But the reason they did it before was because you were issuing levies to member municipalities, and that should be elected official. Now it's not going to be. So a lot of information to come in a short period of time to make the government's priorities, but none of the concerns that were addressed through all that consultation of 14,000 submissions have been addressed at this time. So we'll just keep the information trying to flow, and the Conservation Authority wants to be a good communicator. Further discussion? All's in favor? Opposed? That's carried. Okay, that takes us to notices of motions, introductions of notice of motions for council. That we did change our procedure bylaw, and so the notice of motions are printed on there, but we deal with them next time unless there's a 2/3 vote to do that. So I will turn it over to Councillor Hudson to introduce the first notice of motion, please.
Sure, thank you. Introduction of notice motion by myself, whereas the development of the Ingersoll off-leash dog park was made possible through the dedication, time, and effort of community volunteers, and whereas these volunteers contributed significantly to enhancing public space, promoting community engagement, and supporting responsible pet ownership and creation of the off-leash dog park. And whereas it is important to formally recognize and celebrate the contributions of these residents who gave their time to improve municipal amenities, therefore it be resolved that council approve the installation of a recognition bench at or near the entry of the Ingersoll off-leash dog park to honor the volunteers who contributed to its creation. The bench including a commemorative plaque acknowledging the collective efforts of the volunteers with wording to be developed in consultation with staff, and if needed, refer to the memorial bench policy. Staff be directed to identify an appropriate and accessible location within the park or near the entry of the Ingersoll off-leash dog park to provide cost estimates for the bench, plaque, and installation. Funding for the bench be allocated from earlier already donated external contributions where feasible, and staff report back to council at the next regular scheduled council meeting on the choice of bench, plaque, and wording, as well as a possible spring-summer installation timeline, and further that the installation be accompanied where appropriate by a small community recognition event or online town media recognition to celebrate volunteer contributions and bench installation.
Thank you very much. And that will be on the agenda for discussion at the May meeting, or the next meeting, I guess. And then your second notice motion, Councillor Hudson, please.
That the town of Ingersoll is currently in the process of building a new multi-recreational use center. And whereas traditional fundraising methods may limit participation due to inconvenience and/or lack of accessibility, and whereas tap and pay contactless payment technology provides a simple, secure, and widely adopted method for collecting small donations from residents and visitors, and whereas similar initiatives in other municipalities and organizations have demonstrated success in increasing community engagement and fundraising totals. Therefore, be it resolved that council directs staff to explore and implement a tap and pay fundraising program to support the construction of the new arena MERC. The program includes the installation of contactless donation terminals at strategic high-traffic locations such as municipal buildings, community centers, pools, arena, museum, local events and festivals, examples, Pizza Fest, Harvest Fest, Soul Good, businesses where feasible, Tremblay Independent Grocery Store, as well as Hometown Style, have verbally agreed to placement of these in their stores. Staff report back to council at the next regular scheduled council meeting with estimated implementation costs, potential fundraising projections, partnership opportunities with local businesses and sponsors, any branding or public awareness strategy, and funds collected through the initiative be allocated specifically to the Merck Capital Fund, and the program includes transparent public reporting on funds raised and progress towards fundraising goals, including updates on social media.
Thank you very much, and that will follow the same as the first one. So, Councillor.
Yes, point of clarification. Did you say that if we had a vote of 2/3 of council to discuss these tonight? Is that?
That's correct. That's the procedure bylaw, which I can quote here for you. Any motion may be introduced without notice if council or the committee, without debate, dispenses with the notice requirements of section 10.9.2 on the affirmative vote at least 2/3 of the members present and voting.
Can I make a motion that we discuss, that we bring these forward tonight and discuss them?
I second that motion.
Okay, there's a movement and a second on the floor, and it is without debate. All those in favor? Opposed? Sorry, can we have hands up again? Sorry.
Approve.
For?
What is 2/3?
That's what I'm trying to figure out. 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, and opposed? So, and the clerk, the motion is defeated, so they'll be on the motion next time.
Okay, thank you.
Good on that one. That's the first one. That's 2/3 and 7 is one, yeah. Okay, with that, we'll go to closed session. Councillor Bowman, please.
Thank you, Mayor. Council, or moved by myself, seconded by Councillor Hudson. The council do now go into closed session meeting at 7:25 p.m. pursuant to section 239, subsection 2 of the Municipal Act 2001, as amended, to discuss the following matters. 1, minutes of a closed session, March 9th, 2026. 2, minutes of a closed session, March 24th, 2026. And 3, 239, subsection 2, paragraph B, personal matters about an identifiable individual, including municipal or board member, employees, and F, advice that is subject to solicitor-client privilege, including communications necessary for the purpose, human resources matter.
Thank you very much. Discussion? All those in favor? Opposed? That is carried. Councillor Halleroo has the link for the closed session. Okay. Okay, we'll see you shortly. Councillor Halleroo will
Yes, I do.
head to the J.C. Herbert room.
All right.
By myself, seconded by Councillor Bowman, that bylaws 26-5454 to 26-5461 be approved, subject to section 284.114 of the Municipal Act.
Thank you very much. Discussion? All those in favor? Opposed? That's carried, and I will not be vetoing any bylaws. I will sign that paperwork. And Councillor Bowman, please.
Thank you, Mayor. Moved by myself, Councillor Bowman, seconded by Councillor Hudson, that the Council of the Corporation of the Town of Ingersoll adjourn the April 13th, 2026 regular meeting of Council at 7:50 p.m.
Much discussion? All those in favor? Opposed? That is carried. Thank you very much. Have a nice evening.